Hello. Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? Uh, if this is the first time that you've been on my channel, I'm Mike. I like to do live streams, tutorials, stuff like that, to help people with drawing. I particularly like live streams because I get to connect with you, but if this is the first time you've watched, I really thank you. Thank you for hopping on. Hopefully you enjoy the content. Um, and I'll be getting started in just a second. So what I like to do is I'll do a bunch of, hey, what's up, Locke? I'll do a bunch of different gesture drawings, and I do bodies, and then I'll move on to hands. I think maybe not next week, but the week after, I'm gonna start doing more gesture drawings, and then I'm gonna go back, and then I'll do clothing on top of it, and try to make sure I work on my clothing as well. But without further ado, let's get started. I'll probably do about 10 gestures for both bodies and hands. That'll probably put us at about right at an hour of content for today. And great. So without further ado, let's get started. Some questions that I get that I'll answer right off the bat. These are all from reference. I can draw without reference, but this is practice for me to just learn from. And when you're learning, don't draw from. When you're trying to learn, you don't really draw from imagination. At least not right away. It is good practice to maybe draw from imagination and then go back and check your work, which maybe that's something else I'll start to do in the near future more frequently. But yeah, for these streams, I typically will do a majority of my drawings. It's like short studies for gesture. And Locke, how have you been, man? Hey, chum boy. I'm doing pretty well. Just my sister-in-law just got married yesterday, so I have a new brother-in-law, which is great. It's a guy that, really close with anyways, over the past few years, so it's just nice to officially have a new brother. I'm doing well, thanks a lot. Just been plugging away at this stuff. Alright. But how have you been doing, chum boy? Some other things I do for my gestures, I give myself about 2.5 minutes. That's just so I don't feel rushed. And I'm starting to try to work on maybe not this first one, but I'll start to put in a little bit more anatomical detail as I go as well. That's why I'm giving myself 2.5 minutes as well. Some things that I've just finished a commission, so I'm just chilling. Oh, that's nice. I haven't done a commission in a long time. So yeah, some things that I like to talk about for gestures are, so you don't get, like, there's not very many, like, what I would call, like, straight lines in the human body. The majority of those lines are going to be bones. And when you're doing gesture, my recommendation for people, and I think that there's different schools of thought on this. Like Proco actually just put out a video that is like contrary to what I'm going to say. But when you're doing gesture and you're really trying hard to get the full movement, I would say that, like, it's best to start off without using straight lines like this to represent your character and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that there's never a straight line in the body. So, you know, a good example of that is like bones. So, like, you can really easily show, like right here, this bone is straight. It goes from your elbow towards your pinky. And that's the ulna. So the ulna is a really, really straight bone. And it's good to show that, right? It's good to show that it's straight. Just because it'll allow your viewer to see what's really going on in there. But yeah, again, like in gesture, especially, it just also depends on how long you're giving yourself, right, for your gesture drawings. Like for me, 2.5 minutes feels like a decent amount of time, especially when I'm talking as well, going through it. Or sorry, I meant especially if I'm not talking when I'm going through it. If that doesn't feel like a long time for you, you're just gonna be, you know, you're just gonna be doing your best to get the overall flow of these characters in, right? And with that being said, like, you're not going to worry about anatomical detail as much to begin with. And then as that time frame becomes longer and longer for you, then maybe you will want to start to add more detail with, like, for like bone structure and things of that nature, to help your drawings look even better, right? It's just really a matter of where you're at in your art journey. And always be patient with yourself throughout the process. Just because some people are at like a specific spot and you're not, doesn't mean anything, right? It's really, really important to be patient with yourself. Drawing is not easy. Alright, let's add. It is. Because, like, the other thing too is, like, especially on like YouTube, for instance, like, a lot of the most popular stuff that you'll see are things that I would deem as like fast food fixes for art, right? Like, oh, like, learn how to do this thing in 10 minutes or whatever, and it'll change your art. It's just not, it's not the way art works. Just because you've learned a secret quote unquote like secret as to how to draw a specific thing. It doesn't mean that your art's actually gotten better. You've just learned a little bit of a recipe. And in fact, if you don't know how to use that recipe correctly, it's actually going to harm you. Because then you're going to apply it and it's not going to make any sense. People are going to be able to see it. People who are experienced will be able to see that and be like, that's not quite how that's actually drawn. It takes a lot of studying and a lot of patience to be able to accurately draw things. I'm gonna redraw the head. I have a little bit of a habit of doing this where like the head's actually a little further down in some angles than in others and it blocks more. Than what I think it does. Alright, so that means that this arm is going to be further down. So I'm going to erase away some of this stuff. There it goes. Cool. Sorry, I did not like the way that head came out. Another thing that's like really important when you are doing something like this, like studies and stuff, with reference, is you really want to be cognizant of the volumes that you're seeing. So making sure that you're drawing them in the correct perspective, and I can show you what I mean by that in just a second, but because if you start to break the perspective of each individual part, it's going to make the drawing look flat and not dynamic. And then you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. And I'll be able to show you in a second because this drawing doesn't really have feet that are in it, so just kind of applying some of my other knowledge to get that in. So like for instance, like this part of the arm right here, if this is coming towards me, so which part of this cylinder am I actually seeing? And the answer to that is we're seeing the top of the cylinder coming towards us, and in the back we're not seeing this. But in reality, obviously, you know, it's gonna follow this perspective here, right? But we're not seeing this. Now, if you draw this cylinder like this instead, for instance, you have this open, but somehow you also have like this open here. it's hard to tell, right? You can't look at this cylinder right here and tell which one's coming toward, like which part's coming towards us and which part's coming away, because both ends are open, right? It doesn't look like anything right now. So you just erase, even if what if I did this, right? What if I erased this line? Now, I mean, granted, these lines are a little bit indicative, but now it looks like it's going the opposite way. So you just have to be careful of like your different what's coming towards you, what's going away, and the openings of those things, right? What does it mean if it's coming towards me? What does it mean if it's going away from me? How does that change how the volume works? Because it does. It impacts the volume. The only thing I don't like about this particular pose is the neck feels too long, to me at least. So I'm gonna change that just slightly. And that's another thing, right? Is like, just because you're using a reference, if it's of course if it's like an actual human body and not a drawing of one, then you know you need to draw it to the best of your ability as accurately as you can, without changing too much, because it's an actual body. But if it's not an actual body and it's a drawing, people make mistakes all the time, even with things that look great. So learn proper proportions and things like that, and that will help you get rid of some of those inaccuracies. Even when you're observing, you can be like, oh yeah, wait a second, this isn't quite right. Sorry, this is like kind of messing with me just a bit because of how the boot is in this particular pose, but I'm gonna just cap it off here. The knee, the leg goes back. This. All right. Now for the arms. There we go. Another thing that I'm actually working on myself with my gesture is not like erasing as much, but rather just undoing lines that I don't like. And that's just because then you get cleaner looking drawings. Like some of my gestures when I'm done with them look decent enough to just start building on top of, right? Yeah, and that's fine, chum boy, as long as you understand how to, like, as long as your cartoony proportions are consistent, right? That's the only thing that really matters, is just having proportions that are consistent. But there is a difference between even doing what you're talking about and doing like a study, right? Like studies, you typically want to get as close to like real proportions and real anatomy and stuff as you can, because that's the way that you learn how to what's the word I'm looking for, stylize things, right? You decide like which things are going to be simplified and stuff like that, but you can't really make that active decision if you don't understand anatomy and stuff as well as you should. And a decent artist will be able to tell when that's the case. Like when it's somebody that doesn't really understand what they're looking at, and they're just trying to change things around, and they're not doing it consistently. Sorry, I'm like, for whatever reason, struggling a bit with this pose. It's not particularly hard. There it goes. Cool. But yeah, if you are not understanding what you're looking at and not understanding what real proportions look like, you actually will plateau in your work, because then you're basically just consistently doing imaginative work, because that's really what style choices are for the most part, is like it's a version of imaginative work. You're drawing what you like to draw in a way that you like to draw it, and the only way you can really do that is by like seeing a piece but using your imagination to change that piece a bit. And you know what, too, the other thing though is that, like, if that's what you like to do and that's what you want out of your art, you don't really care about any of that stuff, that's fine. Right? You don't have to, like, I care about that stuff. Like, I care about I prefer art that is slightly like more on the detailed and realistic side of things versus cartoony myself. But that doesn't mean that's a better way by any means. This is kind of this way actually. Right. Cool. So that's that one. I want to be somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I mean, so you'll do a little bit of what I'm saying, and then you'll not do it, right? Doing stuff and like with some form of realism will allow you to have better cartoony pieces. I think a common misconception, I'm not saying that this is you, by the way, but a common misconception that some people have is that, like, you can just do cartoony work and you don't need to understand realism at all. But in fact, if you ask a person that's a cartoonist to draw realistically, they would be very, very good at it. And that's because they still do. And maybe they're not, they're not going to be as good as maybe somebody who does like realistic portraits for a living, right? Obviously, I'm not saying that, but they would be better than what people would think. But that's because they understand the importance of looking at what like real life stuff and simplifying it and what it takes to simplify it in a way that is aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, I don't think this person did a particularly good job with the foreshortening. Actually, now that I'm looking at this pose more, foreshortening in this back leg is kind of bad. Doesn't really make logical sense here. So I could change here is this can go up, I guess. Probably needs to, sorry, give me 1 second, everybody. I'm just like trying to figure out the best way to fix this, actually. All right. Oh, arm's getting sore. This is I have not drawn this one very much. This is a very good, at least it looks to me, like a very good foreshortened pose. Another thing that's really good to know about like your gesture drawing is the importance of going from like the major body parts to the smaller. So like for instance, you're not seeing me ever draw like an arm first, right? And then moving on from that. I'm always starting, I start with the head, which I could be honest with you, like it might be better to start with like the body and the like the torso, aka rib cage, and the pelvic area, and then moving into like a head afterwards. But I'm just more comfortable starting with the head because I like to think that the head and the face are the most important things to draw. But you can do the torso and stuff like I was just talking about, and that would work out perfectly fine. But I digress. You don't see me starting, for instance, with an arm, right? You see me starting with the body, and then I actually go to the legs, and then I do the arm. This is coming towards us just a bit, and then goes back away. And then this is here. And there. Alright. And so these are the bodies for today. I'm pretty happy with these. I think the ones that I did in my last stream were a bit better, maybe. But these are good. I haven't had a chance to really draw in my office too much this week because I'm actually starting to transition to a new job, and with that I have a lot of stuff that I've been doing, but we're also redoing the office space. I'm gonna get a different desk and stuff. I'm probably gonna get a new tablet soon. So just been in the process of changing that stuff. So it's been a little bit difficult. Like this room's right now just a disaster zone. There's like paintbrushes everywhere. So I haven't really been able to do as much as I would like in here, but I've been working on my iPad. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna take a quick swig of water, and then we can move on to the hands. Right. Let's draw some hands. So I'll be doing, I'm gonna be a therapist, but with like private practice. So, I'll be, yeah, I'll be making a lot more money after I get a full caseload, and instead of supervising, I'll be actually doing clinical work with people again. Um, so I am excited about that. It'll be nice. Uh, I liked my previous job, but I was doing a lot of work to not really get compensated for it. So I asked for more money and they weren't able to do that because it's a non-profit. So fortunately, I had to move on. It was a hard decision too, actually, because this is the only company that I've worked with my entire adult life. So that has been, it was a hard decision to make, but I would like to think I'm pretty good at what I do, so I feel like I should be compensated for that. And thank you for saying congrats, appreciate it. On to the next. So it's really funny. I talk about this in every stream. I think I struggle more with drawing fists than I do like open hands for the most part, which is just odd because, of course, like fist is basically just a block. So I'm not really sure what that's about. I think that like fists have like a simplicity to them, but it's like finer details that you have to get right in order for it to look okay. So I think that it's just me figuring that piece out, like what are the finer details. Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Also, Z2 Freezy. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you. Maybe you've been on a stream before, but I don't know if I've seen you say something on a stream before. I don't recognize that name. So welcome, and thank you for joining and chatting. Let me see something here. Oh yeah, that's a good question, Locke. I would be interested in hearing that too, what the commission was. So I'm just going to change up this wrist because it's kind of facing down just a bit. Oh, that's cool. This is my first time. Thank you. I enjoy your manga content. I feel like it's helped me. Oh, that's good to hear. I'm really excited. I have a few videos. I'm just waiting to like actually start creating my manga before I, well, not creating, that's the wrong word because I've been creating, but I'm waiting to like actually publish my new manga before I post those videos, but it's going to be about the process that I use to be able to create it, so hopefully that'll feel helpful for you as well. So this hand, one thing that I changed up because it's almost another like fist in some ways, but something that I decided to change up was I used a bit more construction lines, and I think I'm happier with it actually. This is holding something, so you can't really see it. I said that I was happier with it, but I don't know if that's true actually. I could work on that more and it would get better, but man, another fist. Alright, the program must have heard me when I said that I struggle with fists and was like, alright, so you struggle, huh? We're gonna give you all fists to draw today, buddy. That's a good thing though. The program heard me, because if I'm gonna draw a action manga, I better know how to draw a freaking fist. Alright, so let's go with this. Alright, so we got this hunk of meat right here. Alright. Yeah, backgrounds are not fun, especially like placing a character in a background. I will say it is difficult. Alright, this is not too bad, I guess. Yay, finally an open hand. Alright. The palm of the hand was a bit too long, I think, in comparison to the width. Any tips on backgrounds? So I would say, like, I don't know, there's a lot to like backgrounds, because it just depends. Like, are you doing a cityscape background, or are you doing a natural background? Because those, my advice for both would be a little different. If you're doing a lot of cityscapes, then give me 1 second. I do see the new comment. Also, welcome, Philosophy Enjoyer. Appreciate it. Give me 1 second, and I will get to your comment. I wanted to finish this up. And I think it should be a break right after this. And I'll be able to answer some questions here. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, let's see if it's a break. Yep. So for backgrounds that are cityscape, you're just gonna want to know your perspective. Like, 3-point perspective in particular is really helpful for cityscape backgrounds, because that's gonna be the most it's gonna look the most like a real background, right? And then you want to learn how to place characters in that. And the way that I would do that is put a cube or like a rectangular prism that would be representative of a character to start with, and then you would scale everything around that. Or you can do all of the other stuff and then place something that's a square or rectangular prism for your character in there. The other thing too, I guess, before you even start doing any of that, is you want to think about what is the purpose of the scene that you are drawing, right? Is it to show the actual background itself, or is your character doing something that's super important within that background? So you have to figure out which one is the main character of this particular piece. Is it the actual character themselves, or is it the background? Because if it's the background, then it's going to be probably a vast looking piece, right? So it's going to be big. You're trying to show as much of the scene as you possibly can. So sorry, give me 1 second. I just wanted to get the overall like shape of this in here. I might pause it for a second just so I can also answer Philosophy Enjoyer's question too. Yeah, so that's like the big part. So the first step is figuring out what's the purpose of this drawing. Is it to show the vastness of the background, or is it to show something that the character is looking at, like a specific item, or is it the character themselves and the background is just an auxiliary piece, right? So that's the first part. Then I'll go back to what I was saying. So a cityscape, the reason why a cityscape is the reason why perspective is important for cityscapes is because everything within a city is going to most likely fit into a rectangular prism of some sort. So when you know perspective well, you are able to get the fundamentals of everything down with a 2 or 3 point perspective relatively easily, and then you can add detail on top of it and it should look pretty good. If it's a nature scene though, that's a different story, because nature scene, you don't necessarily need perspective. You just need to understand, like, I guess atmospheric perspective, which is different, right? Atmospheric perspective tells us that as things go back into the distance, the contrast that we see is going to lessen as it gets further away, and that's the sorry, I just saw that you retracted your message, so I guess I probably won't respond to it incomplete, because I did read it. I'm doing well though. But so that's like your details are going to die down as you go back. Your colors aren't going to be as saturated as you go back, and then the darkness in particular as you go back in space in your drawing is going to die down as well. So you want to look at that and think about that in your nature pieces. It's always great to have a lot of repetition. Like for instance, we kind of all know the size of like a tree, right? And if you have like a similar tree that starts in the foreground and as you go backwards into your scene, and it's like repeated throughout, but you can see it getting smaller and smaller, it will show you the vastness of a mountain, for instance. Or like maybe there's like a great elder tree that's going to be far in the distance that you want to show as being massive. Yeah, it would be wise to have one of the smaller trees in comparison in the foreground and have it pretty big, and then in the very background where the great elder tree is, for instance, have that be huge, and then the same tree just look very small in comparison right next to it, right? And the other part too is understanding where your horizon line should be. So like in pieces that are like you want to show how tall something is, for instance, even if you're like looking right now straight out and you just hold your hand out where like for instance a horizon line might be like right in front of yourself, if you start to look up, what happens to your hand? It goes downward. So instead of being here in the middle of your vision still, it's gone down quite a bit. So what that tells us is if we want to show how tall something is, we need to have a low horizon line. But if we want to show how deep something is and we're looking down into it, you want to have a higher horizon line. And that way it'll work with what you are trying to draw better. Those are kind of like the basics. I'm still learning that stuff too, but that's what I would consider the very fundamentals of what it would take to be able to do a decent background. And then your character should fit in to those scenes in some way, right? And they should be a small piece of that scene. You don't want them to steal the show. The scene itself is the show. Alright. Only 4 people are watching this, but I guess people prefer +18 art on Twitch. That stuff gets a lot of views. But what? Yeah, I mean, I don't typically get that many. Like, sometimes I'll get like maybe like 9 or 10 people in here at any particular time. A lot of people watch my streams afterwards. I think for me it's a few things. One, I'm not like the most entertaining person in the world. I'm not afraid to admit that. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit I'm not the most entertaining person on the planet. But the other piece too is like I'm not shaming anybody who does this, because it is what it is. If you draw what you like to draw, but I don't like to. I'm not just gonna go on here and draw a chick with giant boobs and get followers and stuff from that, because it's not the kind of art that I like to do. I'd rather people follow me for art that I enjoy, and I'm not gonna just cater to what people want in that way. Like obviously, like if y'all have things that you'd like to see me draw that will fit with what I like to draw or what I need to learn how to draw, I will 100% do that. But I'm not just gonna draw that. Yeah, Locke. Hey, like I said, I'm not shaming. People can. I'm just not interested in drawing that form of art. It's not something that I personally want to do, but that's the stuff that gets a lot more views, because there's a lot of thirsty people out in the world. don't know if this is the correct, like, quote-unquote playlist for my art stuff. I think that I made a mistake here, because a lot of these I don't think are ones that I would have chosen for stuff that I draw consistently, I would say. Or will be drawing consistently. Well, alright. I hope you have a great day as well. I will see you in the Discord, Eden. I appreciate you hopping in for a bit. Also, Chumboy, and you know what, I could probably do this for Locke as well, because Locke does come in from time to time, and it's a person from my class, so I think, just because you've been consistently coming to a lot of these streams, and I'm going to eventually need a moderator, I think I'm gonna make you a mod, unless you don't want to be. Okay, I will not then, Locke. Thank you for being honest. Okay, I'll probably do that in just a second. Because I know Coop's been busy lately, but I will need a lot. Sometimes I get like weird like bots that come in. Get like, hopefully I don't get demonetized for saying this word, but I get porn bots sometimes, and I don't really know why. I'm just like, please guys, don't click on that. I'm not putting that up there. It's been a while since that's happened, but it does from time to time. I'm just like, what the heck? Like, my channel is not popular enough at this point for me to be getting those kinds of bots on here. Yeah, these are not my typical hands, I would say. I must have accidentally chosen the wrong folder. This is something too that is interesting about hands. When you can even check this out on yourself really fast, but if you what do I want to do here? Oh, that's better already. If you open your hands up, your fingers go out. So like you can see like my pinky and my index finger go away from each other. But then when you go to close your hand like this, that finger's broken. But if you start to do that, your fingers go towards each other. So just be aware of that when you're drawing hands, and it'll help you but it'll help you draw hands that are a little bit more, like, not realistic looking, but that have a little bit more logical sense to them. When you start to miss things like that, it will make your work not look good. Yep. Definitely need a moderator in here. Get rid of trolls for me. Except for Locke. Don't get rid of Locke. I like Locke. He's a good troll. Alright, next hand. Fire. That works. Alright. And up, down, up, down. Alright, so I think that, yeah, I was gonna say, I think that knuckle just needed to be out a little bit more. Alright. Something just slightly off here. I think that this needs to be higher. That might make me feel better. Let's see here. Yeah, that looks better to me. I'm just gonna find this hand really fast. Just so I can correct it, because it's just bothering me just a bit. First one. Alright, let me look at this really fast. Yes, okay. So I can go here, that, and then this. Yep, this can go further down. That was what was bothering me. That way, this can go down towards that part of the knuckle. Yep, and the rest is good to go. Let's look at, it's always so funny, I do this every time. I'm always like, oh yeah, this fist looks really bad, or I struggle with these things, and like, yeah, like, of course it needs improvement, but this is a pretty good set of hands. Like, if I could, if I draw hands like this in my manga and, do all the necessary stuff afterwards, like, I'll be pretty happy with it. And, I don't think that this is the best set of body gestures that I've done, but they're good, they're not bad, so pretty happy with today's work, and I learned a lot, so that's all that really matters. The other piece that really matters is just connecting with all of you, so I do appreciate y'all hopping on and giving me some company as I get some of this stuff done. Hopefully you learn some stuff too, and I'm gonna get to work on some of my 3D environmental stuff here in a minute, so I can start to push forward with my manga. I have most every character that I need created already, so that's not an issue for me as of now. It's just making sure that the environment looks good, and then I'll be able to start. I have the story written already, so I'm really excited to start the one shot. I'll keep y'all up to date on that, but for now we will go ahead and end the stream. I'll try to get back on a schedule of streaming on Thursday this week. It's been hard just because I was in the wedding yesterday, like I was part of the wedding party, so I had a lot of stuff to get done, everything like that this week. So hopefully, like I said, next week on Thursday I'll be able to get back on schedule, and when I start my new job I'll have probably the majority of my morning and afternoon open, and I do a lot of my work in the evening, so I'll be able to do more consistent streams. Maybe I can go back to doing 2 streams a week. But I love all of you. I appreciate you very much, and I will see you in the next stream. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and if you have a long weekend this weekend, I hope you have a great long weekend too. Peace out.